We have with us today Mr. Vishwanathan, seasoned management professional of several decades, well qualified professionally, and sharing with us his insights on a very, very special topic. I'll just put it briefly about him since we already shared his detailed profile in the mail as well as in the FENG website. He is basically a management and graduate engineer, and he is a university topper in College of Engineering, Gindi, in mechanical engineering, and he got his Masters of Operations Research and Advanced Analytics and Business Management with a perfect score of 4 out of 4. And is also a university top ranker from State University of New York, USA. And he has completed his postgraduate in psychological counseling from Symbiosis International University in Pune. That is his qualification. And then he has been a globetrotting CEO of several companies working all across the world, and most of it in the United States also. And he keeps moving between US and India frequently. And he's also, I should mention, it is noteworthy to mention that he is now a qualified, trained psychological counselor, life coach, and psychotherapist, and graduated with distinction at the A+ grade with a postgraduate diploma in psychological and psychological counsel from the Symbiosis University, and an additional postgraduate diploma in psychotherapy and counseling from CCS Academy, Chennai. So this is a recent this thing which is not there in the CV or resume what I had shared. And currently he is handling the assignment of CEO of Anikode Management Consultants, a strategy consultant boutique based in Dallas, US, as well as in India, helping global clients in digital transformation, strategy, and execution. He's got extensive hands-on experience with thousands of people globally in mental health counseling, as well as mentoring people of all ages, nationalities, personalities, and demographies and gender. Prior to this, he was partners in ANSR Inc., a management consulting company based in Dallas and Bangalore. He has held several senior executive positions in various global multinational companies, and he was a senior global advisor to the board of directors of Amadeus, the largest travel solutions and distribution company headquartered in Madrid, Spain. He was also the CEO of Ubix Inc., a Nasdaq-listed public company, which is a worldwide leader in strategic consultant and integrated IT services, with over thousands of employees located in offices in US, UK, and UAE, and India. Prior to that, he was a senior advisor to chairman and executive management consultant at UB Holdings, CEO of Sabre Holdings for the Asia Pacific region, and an executive management position at American Airlines and Sabre Holdings in US. Vish has also been elected as a board member of TIE, that is the Indus Entrepreneurs. As you know, it's a global non-profit organization dedicated to promoting entrepreneurship in its Chennai chapter for 3 consecutive terms. He's a member of the advisory board in several startup companies in US and India, and he is also a Stanford seed mentor and actively mentors young entrepreneurs worldwide. Vish is an accredited angel investor with Gindi Alumni Angels in US and Native Lead Angels in India. He's also an active member of the Alumni Association of College of Engineering, Gindi. And he's been nominated as a chairperson or convener or co-convener in the 3 editions of the prestigious College of Engineering Gindi Global Alumni Meet. So we are here today to gain insights on a very, very interesting topic to professionals like us. So over to you, Vish, please.
Thank you, Arun. I hope you guys can hear me okay.
Yeah, good.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So good evening, good morning, friends. I just want to start this presentation by giving some background. So this is a rather unusual topic. A lot of people, when I start presenting, wonder what this topic is about. Actually, it is a very important topic that I would like everyone in the world to be to learn and be aware of. So what I'm going to do is, before I start, I want to give a few disclaimers. I am a citizen of the US, and whenever you do any presentation of any kind publicly in the US, I put a lot of disclaimers saying what I am not. Living and working in a litigious country like US, you always want to say what you're not. So this is just a disclaimer I put in all my presentations. I'm not a lawyer or a certified financial advisor or a certified tax professional. All I'm showing here is my own experience and learning from what I have seen. And the information is, of course, compiled from various official government and bank sources all over the world. I'm doing this as a pro bono service. It is not supported or sponsored by anyone. And during the course of the presentation, I do talk about several of the services that I use to make this particular program work. So I'm happy to provide a referral to the service providers. Of course, I don't represent them. I don't get any referral fee from them either. I think Arun has already talked about my profile, so I'll just skip this slide for now. The only point I want to make here is that the recent past, I decided to go back to school. After working for 35 years in the industry, I decided to go back to school to get a degree in psychology. It has been my passion and my desire for a long time to become a psychologist. I'm proud to say I'm a professional psychological counselor and psychotherapist. This is also an important area which is often overlooked. Mental health is a very serious issue, a very important issue, but not an issue that gets a lot of visibility. I am working on another presentation to bring awareness to mental health, the importance of mental health and what needs to be done. So if you guys want that presentation webinar, I'm happy to do that sometime in the next few months as well. Um, so this rest of it gives my background and my credentials. I'm also an amateur marathon runner. I started running after I turned 45, and I've done about 13 marathons so far. So it's quite an exciting thing to do, and also do some organic farming. In addition to this presentation, there are many other presentations that I've done, information sharing sessions I've done in entrepreneurship, angel investment, mentoring, investments for non-resident Indians and overseas citizens of India in India, and presentations on US and India tax, immigration, and foreign exchange management, mental health awareness, global business, retirement planning, etc. These are all the presentations I've done in the last 3 years. I've done a whole bunch of them before that. Happy to share some of the presentations. Each one is a different topic for a different different set of interesting, different set of people as well. So for this presentation, I want to start with a few guidelines. So I would like people to stay muted if at all possible. I think the folks from FENG are recording this session, and the recording will be made available to all the participants and all the registered participants. You can ask the question via chat box, and during the Q&A at the end of the presentation, you can also ask the question live. I will do my best to answer all the questions. If I'm unable to answer because of lack of time, I would be happy to provide my email address and contact details. You're welcome to ask the questions via email as well. I will provide a soft copy of all the slides in this presentation, and there is no fee to attend this information session. So to the topic of end of life planning, what is end of life planning? Before I start that, I want to give you a little background why I'm doing this. Over the last 4 years, several friends and relatives of mine who are in their 40s and 50s and 60s passed away suddenly for various reasons. Some of them had undetected, untreated illnesses, and they passed away, and some of them had accidents and they passed away, etc. In all those cases, what I noticed is that the people who are the immediate relatives, the spouse or the children or the parents of the person, had very little idea about that person, what this person was doing, what the person was worth, what the person's information is, etc. And in each of those cases, I worked with the person who was grieving to try to help them understand where they are and where they stand vis-a-vis where they were before, and trying to get all the information about that person who is no more. It is a fairly difficult process. And so what I decided after going through so many such examples is that I wanted to put this together so people who are now alive, I want all of them to follow the what I say in this presentation, to plan and keep all your stuff together. So if and when you leave this earth, which is inevitable for all of us, at least our immediate loved ones, our spouses, our children, our parents, our siblings, etc., don't have to go through a difficult time trying to figure out what we have, what we don't have, and what we want to do and what we desire to do. So end of life planning is basically a plan that you do, and I would request that this can be done by people at any age. It doesn't have to be done when you're old. It has to be done anytime, because for a lot of us in this day and age, it's very difficult to say how long we'll be in this world. So it's better for us to do when we are able to do it. So it's planning for what you wish to happen when you leave this world, and leaving instructions on how you wish to be cared, even when you're alive. At some point when you're not able to take care of yourself, you want to make sure that you want to leave instructions for those to make decisions on your behalf for medical and other reasons during the end stage of your life. And the end of life planning process results in a bunch of documents and material, which could be a combination of a folder, binder, spreadsheets, documents, etc., that contain all the information that you need to pass on, your decisions, your preferences, and your instructions. So it's basically a way to communicate to people in your absence everything about you, what you want to do, what you have, and what they need to do. Uh, what I would say is that your trusted family members, your spouse, your children, your parents, your siblings, or your trusted friend should know the location of this end of life documents. After preparing all this information, if you don't tell them where it is, it's as good as not doing them. So you want to make sure that some of your closest relatives know where these documents are, so they can use it and refer to see, make decisions on your behalf, things that you want to have done for yourself. You should make duplicate copies of this document, and I would recommend to have one printed hard copy stored in a safe place and one soft copy in a pen drive. The reason I'm saying that you want to have it in two copies is that if you make it in a soft copy in a pen drive, there are chances that the file might get corrupted or erased. So it's always best to have one printed hard copy and one soft copy. I will not suggest to keep this online, because the information you're going to have in these folders is going to be a lot of personal information, a lot of personal and critical financial information. You don't want that to be online because it's likely to be hacked and taken away. So I would say make duplicate copies, a hard copy and a soft copy, and keep it in a safe place in your home or your office where people know where it is. Why is it important? I think it is a moral responsibility. If you really do care about your close ones, your spouse, your children, you don't want them to be playing a guessing game while they're in the middle of a grieving process when you're gone. You don't want them to be guessing, you don't want them to make assumptions, you don't want them to have challenges in trying to deal with the different things, decisions they have to make on your behalf. So I think it's a moral responsibility all of us have towards our family members, and it's important for your family members to know everything about you, your assets, your liabilities, and other details that you have to be able to communicate in your absence. It definitely is mitigates the pain of your loved ones, because when they are grieving at your loss and they have to also make decisions that they don't know what to make of, no, it actually makes it double difficult. I can tell you in experience, when I worked with all these people who went through this grief in the last 5 years, the amount of pain and suffering they went through in trying to make decisions was actually more than losing the person itself. So you don't want that to be the case. It is a completely avoidable situation. So creating this is not a very big job, but the amount of pain it can save your loved ones is pretty amazing. So mitigate the pain of your loved ones during times of grief, and also to ensure that your family doesn't have to make difficult decisions or guesswork regarding your assets, your health, and your personal preferences. Also important is that your family members should know where they stand financially. And a lot of these people I mentioned who unfortunately passed away were in their prime earning ages, and but their family members were not aware of their financial disposition in terms of what assets they had, what investments they have made, etc., all that. So it is in our best interest to document all those things so people know at least where they stand. It also helps eliminate any disputes or disagreements between your family members, particularly if you are going to leave wealth and inheritance for them. If you don't explicitly state what you need to be done with your wealth, then it's going to result in a lot of disputes and disagreements. And as unfortunate as it may sound, when there is money at the table, there are always some disagreements and disputes. So you want to make sure that if you explicitly state what needs to be done with your wealth and belongings, that will eliminate a lot of disagreements and disputes and make it a little better situation. And at the end of the day, it actually helps you organize even when you're well and good, all your important documents in one place. I can tell you that, when I started doing this for myself, I realized that my information was spread in multiple different places and multiple different mechanisms. It's somewhere in, a computer, somewhere in my phone, somewhere in documents, somewhere in US, somewhere in India. I realized that, even I didn't know many of the stuff that I had of myself, leave alone somebody else trying to guess when you're not there. So this process helps you organize and keep all your important documents in one place, even for you to refer when you have a need. So in terms of the kind of information about yourself that you want to put and document as part of the plan, I classified this under 13 different heads. Believe me, all of us in this world are, hanging around with lots of information about ourselves, mostly in our head and some in various forms. What I decided to do is to go through, and based on the experience that I had in dealing with a lot of these people, helping people who are going through this difficulty, I classified all this different information into 13 heads. What I'm going to do now is to quickly run through all of them, but I'm not going to spend too much time on each slide. I will only stop and make specific comments on some slides on places where I feel it is important to emphasize certain points. Okay. So in terms of personal information, this list sounds very simple and silly, but let me tell you, some people go by different names. And when it comes to identifying who you are, it has to be the exact legal first name, middle name, last name. So people might know you or call you by different names, but I think it's important for you to document how you are called in various different documents. So have all your personal ID and document information, your legal name, your birth certificate, your landline and mobile numbers, your passports, your permanent resident card if you're a US resident or a overseas citizen of India card, your voter ID, your PAN card, your Aadhaar card, your driving licenses, your marriage certificate, your social security card, all these are important. Marriage certificate is particularly very important because in case there is any claim on stuff you have as representing you as a spouse, then your marriage certificate is essential. If your spouse doesn't have the marriage certificate, it's an extremely difficult process to get a new certificate, a replacement certificate when you're not alive. So it's important to have all these documents categorized and stored in a certain place so that people can get access to it when they need it to take care of things in your absence. Ration card, professional association IDs, employee ID cards, medical insurance card, divorce certificate. Another interesting one. One of my friends who recently passed away, he is a divorcee, and the divorce certificate was not to be found. Now, what happened in that case, that the former partner of this particular person decided to make a claim on some of his properties illegally, because after divorce, that person has already paid all the dues, but the other person who previous partner made a claim. Unfortunately, they couldn't find the divorce certificate. So it was a very long legal battle to re-establish the fact that the person was earlier divorced and the partner did not have any claim to the property. So people who have the situation of having gone through divorce, it's important for you to keep your divorce certificate so that you can eliminate any spurious claims people will make after you go away. Second set of details is your contact details. Now, this again looks like a very simple case, but let me tell you, in one of the cases where I dealt with this person who passed away, didn't have any place where we could find the information about the person or about the person's relatives. This person died in India about a couple of years ago, and I know that he had children in the US and in Australia, but we didn't know where they lived. I didn't have the contact number. It took me more than 24 hours to even inform this person's children that the person is no more. This is the reason why I say that you should probably put all the important contact details in one place. So somebody is going to be helping you or helping your spouse or you're helping your relatives in your absence will be at least able to call the right people and give the information so they can be aware of the fact, or they can be informed of the fact that you're no more. So your spouse's information, your children, your siblings, your in-laws, your close friends, your close colleagues, your neighbors, your chartered accountant information, your tax consultant information, your primary care physician. Very, very important. People need to know who your primary care physician is. In case you are in a medical emergency and to be taken to the hospital, most emergency physicians would want to talk to your primary care physician to know about your medical history. And if this information is not available, then the emergency physician will be at a loss. So it is important for you to document this so that whoever is going to help you and take you to the emergency will be able to provide your primary care physician information to the hospital to help you. Any specialist doctors, any advocate, and also your employer or your supervisor in your office to inform them about your that you're not going to be coming to work, or you're not able to come to work. Other information you need to keep are your insurance agent's numbers, your medical insurance agent, your auto insurance agent, your financial consultant, your estate planning consultant, and your will and trust executor. Wills and trust are not very useful unless the person who is designated as executor is available and known to people. If you don't tell people who your executor is, then people who are going to be dealing with your will not be able to know that. So it's important to mention the contact detail of your will and trust executor, so people can call that person and ensure that the will is executed appropriately as per your desires. And similarly, bank managers are relationship managers as well. So all this contact details, it's important to put them in a piece of paper or in a table, and then keep it as part of your end of life, so that when it's required, people can quickly get access to these various individuals and take care of the necessary work. The next set of information is about your medical information. Your prescription of all medicines is very important. When you are not well, when you have to be taken to the hospital, either in your conscious or unconscious, into the emergency, it is often an important information about the medications you're taking, because some of these medicines that you may be taking may not work when you're taking other medicines that are given in the hospital. So it's important for the treating doctor, whether it's a doctor in the emergency room or the doctor in the hospital, to be aware of all the medicines you're taking, medicine name, strength, dosage, etc. Any medical devices you need, any online or pharmacy details you need, any vaccination record. Post-COVID, I think a lot of hospitals are asking for COVID vaccination information. So you want to make sure you have all the vaccination information in one place. Your recent medical checkup reports, it's very important to have. If you have any serious ailments or even taken for any particular medical emergencies, it's important for doctors to know if you had any recent reports, to make sure that they can compare with what is there right now. Any other issues? Drug allergies, extremely important, particularly for penicillin and anticonvulsants. I can tell you a specific example of one of my friends who was in his mid-40s. He had allergy to penicillin, but he didn't tell anyone about his allergy. So when he got sick and he had congestive pneumonia, we had to take him to the hospital for emergency. And without knowing his allergy, they administered penicillin, which actually killed him. So you want to make sure that you document all the drug allergies you have. And unlike in the past, there are tests available now that you can take to detect which medicines you're allergic to, particularly those that are very common allergies like penicillin and anticonvulsants. You can take this test and document if you are allergic, so that if and when you need to go to the hospital, they will avoid giving medicines that you're allergic to. When you are given administered medicine you're allergic to, then you go into what is called anaphylactic shock, which is a very serious condition. So you don't want to take a chance and get into that situation if you can tell the people or inform people about your allergies. You should definitely document your blood group in case there is some need for blood transfusion, diet restrictions, and any mental health conditions you might have. The reason it is important for any mental health condition, because a lot of the medicines that you might be taking may interfere with your regular physiology. So it is important for the treating doctors to know. So all this information that you have about yourself, this medical information, it'll be best to document them and keep them available so that people can refer to that when they need that particular requirement. Your education information, not as important as medical, but it's still required. Your SSLC book, your mark sheets, your degree and diploma certificates, any trade licenses, and any patent or IPR documents. Important to have all your patent and IPR documents kept in a safe place, because you can only your IPR and patent documents can only be defended if you have those information with you. And if somebody is going to make a false claim against your IPR, the only way to defend yourself is to be able to produce one of those certificates. So you need to make sure that after you leave, nobody can make any claim to the patents that you have, and your people who are going to take care of your follow-up need to have a copy of the patent and IPR documents. The next topic is real estate, residential, commercial property and real estate documents. Whether you own house or rental property, agricultural land, and any commercial property, there are a whole bunch of documents you need. Why this is important is that all these documents are required for someone to settle any property you might have in your absence. So a sale agreement, a sale deed, a land parent document, and things like that. These are all very important documents. At least in India, just having a sale agreement or a sale deed is not sufficient. If someone were to liquidate your property after your absence, just having a sale agreement or a sale deed is not sufficient. You also need to have the parent documents and what is called the patta documents. Without all those documents, it's very difficult to dispose the property that is held in your name. And even if this property is going to be inherited by your next generation, they will need all these documents in order for them to take care of the property in your absence. So all these documents you need to have, and all these documents should be maintained. So sale agreement, lease agreements, your sale deed, your land parent documents, patta documents, encumbrance certificates, any regulatory approvals. If you have constructed a building with a certain approval from a regulator, if that document is not producible, then the regulator might come and say that it is not approved. So the burden of proof is on you to show that. So all these documents that you have gotten when you're building or creating the property, you want to keep it ready so that in the future someone can refer to that to ensure it doesn't cause any problem. And in the US, you also have homeowner association documents. You also want to keep your real estate agent and real estate company contact information, your corporation tax or property tax documents, all your utility documents, and home security. Interestingly, home security, even though it sounds very simple and easy, in the US, most people have home security in the houses to protect the houses. They all have a password. And in most houses, only one person knows the password. And if you don't know the code word, secret code is the password, then it's very difficult for you to operate that. And home security companies are not very willing to help you unless you're able to provide the code. So even though it sounds like a very simple piece of information, it is important for somebody else in the house also to know that, so that in your absence, they can take care of that as well. Legal information, a lot of legal information, legal documents about yourself you want to keep, your advocate name and details. If you have any ongoing prior litigation, you want to make sure you keep all the documentation, because litigations can go on for a very long time. If you happen to leave the world in the middle of a litigation, then for someone to complete the process, they will need all the information and the documentation that are submitted as part of your case. Any power of attorney that you had given, any legal hair certificates you have obtained. If you are inheriting a property from your previous generation and that property is going to be provided to your next generation, you need to have the legal hair certificate saying you are the legal heir of the person who you inherited the property from, and that information is required for your next generation to be able to dispose the property. So if you have any legal hair certificates that are issued in your name, you want to make sure you keep that in place so that somebody else can use it when it's required. Any arbitration details documents, if you have, please maintain that. Any divorce or alimony related documents, as I said earlier, even though this divorce process might have been over, later on, if in your absence, somebody may make a claim to your property, and so the divorce and alimony documents are very important. Any loan agreements that you have either signed or you're written for yourself, particularly if you have signed a loan agreement as a guarantor for someone, your immediate relatives and your spouse need to know that. Otherwise, they will not be able to process when someone makes a claim. Any IOUs or promissory notes that you might given, and any other services agreement, particularly non-disclosure and professional services agreements, you don't want someone to be disclosing information that they should not be disclosing because they didn't have access to your non-disclosure documents. So you want to make sure all those documents are also kept so that people can refer to that when situation arises. The next topic is on tax information. Um, so income tax, interestingly, both in the US as well as in India, the statutory limitation for income tax is 10 years. So in other words, the tax authorities can come back and audit your tax return for the last 10 years. So you want to make sure that if there is an audit that comes against your tax return after you leave, your people have the necessary documentations to provide to the tax authorities. The last 10-year tax returns, your social security card or PAN card, depending on the country you are in for tax purposes. In India, most of the taxes filed electronically and digitally via income tax portal, and that portal has user ID and password. You need to have access to the user ID and password, and whoever wants to check your documents on your behalf in your absence also need the user ID and password. So it will be an important idea. It will be important and a good idea to keep this information written down somewhere. Somebody can refer to that. Any other tax form 1616 capital gains documents you've gotten, need to keep track of that for the last 10 years. any goods and services tax registration documents, any property tax documents. And for those of you who are filing taxes overseas, so for example, in my case, I'm a US citizen living in India. I have to file tax both in US as well as in India. So I keep track of my tax documents in the US as well as tax documents in India as well. Similarly, any wealth, inherent and a gift tax that you might have paid, and any outstanding tax notices or tax audits. It's interesting that in case you have a tax notice or a tax audit ongoing and you're no more, those things don't go away. The person who is going to take care of you has to still deal with them. It doesn't automatically disappear along with you. And so you want to make sure that you don't create any more problems for the person in your absence. You want to keep all the outstanding tax notices and audit notices, and more importantly, the status of them as well, in terms of what claims you have made or what responses are given to the tax authorities. The next one is bank savings. A lot of us have bank accounts. So banks, current and savings accounts. It's interesting. I recently read a news article which said that the amount of money left unclaimed just in public sector banks in India is over $16 billion. Now, because people, when they have accounts and they don't document that, and others don't know that you have an account or a deposit, they're not going to make a claim, and these things lay in accounts for a long time. After 10 years, the bank regulators are required to report unclaimed accounts to the Reserve Bank of India in the case of US, and the Department of and the Finance Department in the U and in Department of the Reserve Bank of India in India, and Treasury Department in the US. Just in India, just in public sector banks, there's more than $16 billion worth of money unclaimed, simply because people didn't tell that they had an account, then they had money there. So you don't want your hard-earned money that you have saved to be given to the government when it should be going to people who are dependent on you. So the only way to do it is to make sure that your account information is documented, so somebody can go and make a claim to that thing. So your passport copy, your security questions, your account numbers, etc., all that, your deposits, fixed deposits, your post office deposits, all these things have both a nomination. So you need to make sure you have a nominee. In my case, what I had done is that all my accounts, whether it's a bank account or a securities or equity accounts, it is a joint account with my wife. And when you do a joint account, your operational status should also be important. If you do it as joint, then both people have to sign. It'll be better to have it as anyone or survivor. In which case, in your absence, your joint account owner can operate the account and have full access to the account, like what you had before you left the world. So it's important to make sure you check all your nominations and operation status and make sure all of them are on anyone or survivor status. Similarly, post office savings and deposits as well. Any non-banking financial companies where you may have accounts and information, such as your Sundaram Finance, Mahindra Finance, etc., all that. Because I'm sure that most of us will keep money in various places for various reasons at various times, and if you are not able to keep all this information in one place, then it's very difficult for someone to speculate and know where you might have the money. And if you don't claim the money, it goes back to the government, which you don't want to see. So make sure that you document all the places where you have your investments, so and the necessary documentation and the nomination and the operation status, so they can get the money when they need it. Credit cards, another important point. All of us have a lot of credit cards to use that. Now, when you leave this world, your credit card liability does not go away. So banks will still come after you in case there is any outstanding credits. And if you don't cancel the credit card, if you have any outstanding payment, they're not going to go away automatically. They'll start accumulating, late fees and interest, etc., all that, and whoever is going to be responsible for taking care of your disposition will have to deal with that. So credit cards, particularly company issued credit cards, if you get any company issue credit card, then unless your company is informed about the fact you have a credit card and cancel it, it'll still be there. The other information is that if you have additional card holders, like for example, you may have a credit card and you may have issued a credit card for someone with your account for some reason, maybe your friend or your brother or your sister or a neighbor, etc., all that. Those additional card holders also need to understand that you're no more, so they have to cancel their cards as well. If they continue using the card in your absence with your account number, you are still liable, and who is going to be taking care of you will have to face that particular problem as well. So you make sure that you document all the cards you have, all the additional card holders that you have issued with your credit card number, as well as other PIN numbers and security questions, so people can take care of it in your absence. Also, debit cards and ATM cards. The next topic is on financial investments. In financial investments, you're talking about mutual funds, equity, debt, and money market funds. It's interesting because different kind of money market and different kind of fund companies have very different ways of handling the dues in your absence. There are schemes available for mutual funds in the US and India where you can pre-specify, similar to what you do in terms of an insurance beneficiary, you can pre-specify with the mutual fund via a special form what the company should be doing with your money that is staying in their funds in your absence. This is in addition to having nominations. Now understand, nominations doesn't give the right to the owner for the money in the fund. The nomination is only a way to say that this person has the ability to operate the account along with you. It doesn't give the right. So if you have a nominee who is not your relative, and then you go away, then one of your blood relatives can make a claim to the money, and the nominee cannot stop that. The nomination doesn't give a right for that. So you want to make sure that you talk to your equity mutual funds and fill out the form that tells and spells out clearly what needs to happen in case you're not there in this world and who can have access to the money as well. Okay, so uh, make sure you have all the necessary information about the mutual fund in terms of fund house name, scheme name, etc. All that, and also portfolio management systems. Portfolio management systems are a particular scheme that is prevalent in India where you are able to invest money directly into the equity market via demat account run by PMS providers. The same information there. You want to make sure that the people who have access to the money, who should get the money in absence, are very clearly specified in the PMS agreement itself. Stock and brokerage accounts, brokerage names, contact details, etc. All that. Crypto assets. Latest people, a lot of people now kept holding crypto assets. If you have any crypto exchange accounts, or if you have any cryptocurrency or crypto wallets or NFTs, you want to make sure you document them and keep them so that people can dispose them or liquidate them as necessary in your absence. And any bank safety locker details. Interestingly, this is a problem that comes up when people keep all their important documents in a bank locker, and if someone doesn't have the keys to your bank locker, then you won't be able to access any of those documents. So normally what happens is the banks give you two sets of keys, one set with you and one with the bank. If you're not able to bring your set of keys, then the bank won't allow you to open the bank locker. So imagine if you kept the keys somewhere and you're no more in this world and your relatives don't know where your bank locker key is, they will not be able to open the bank locker. And unless, and to get the access to that, you have to go through an incredibly long legal procedure to prove that you are the relative of the person who passed away and be able to get a duplicate key. It's a very, very, very long and painful procedure. We recently went through it for one of my friends who had information in his bank locker and they didn't know where the key was. It took us a year to get through lots of documents and hoops to get to the access to the information inside the locker. So please make sure that if you have a bank locker, you mention the location of the physical keys and any password or secret codes so that people who are going to be accessing them in your absence did not have to go through a difficult time. Similarly, any tax-free bonds, government bonds, sovereign bonds, all this different security information that you might have, keep track of that and document them so that any liquidation or any claims you have to make after you go are all done properly. Similarly, any angel or VEP investments, angel investments, people invest in startup companies, they may have various different shareholder agreements and share purchase agreements, and because these things are not regularly looked at, people may not know you have investments in certain companies. So you want to make sure that you document all this term sheets and SHA, SPA, etc., so that people can inform the startup company about the fact that you know more, and then liquidate your assets. Any foreign bank accounts you might have, any foreign mutual funds you may have, you want to also put all the information together and keep it ready for someone to access. The next topic is on loans and financial liabilities. You know, when you have loans or any liabilities against you, unfortunately, those things don't go away when you leave this world. It still stays, and people who are going to inherit or take care of your property or your information are going to deal with that. So any loan agreements, you may have loan amounts, lender details, etc. You want to make sure you document all this and keep that so people can take care of it. This could be personal loan or a loan against mortgages, property loans, automobile loans, all kinds of loans. You want to make sure you have the terms and conditions and the loan agreement itself copy ready so that when people need to take care of closing down your loan or closing the liability, they know what you have paid, how much you have paid, and what needs to be done, etc. All that. These kind of documentation will help relieve a lot of headaches for people who are to deal with it in your absence. So this is why it's important to keep all these things in one place and let people know where it is. Could be educational loans, medical loans, hire purchase agreements, lease agreements. Again, the idea behind this presentation is to give a checklist of all the things that you want to prepare. You may or may not have all these particular things in your particular case, but I put extensive list of all the things that people normally go through. So when you start preparing your end of life planner, you will make sure that all these things are checked, and whatever applies to you, you make sure all the necessary documents are kept in place. Bills and paid subscriptions, again, as I said, along with similar to loans and other things, just because you are not there in the world doesn't mean your bills magically disappear. Unless the particular provider, the utility provider, is informed about your absence, then those bills will continue to rack up. And in places where there is places that they may even end up disconnecting your utility services to your home where your people might be living. So you make sure that you keep track of all the bills and that you need to pay on a monthly basis, so people can ensure that those bills either are discontinued or continue to pay as necessary. And this could include your credit card bills, your mortgage payments, your insurance premium, etc., all that. Talking about insurance information, another most important thing, I discovered that the amount of money that is left unclaimed in life insurance companies just in India, just in government run life insurance companies in India, LIC, which is the Life Insurance Corporation of India's 30% of LIC's assets is unclaimed money. You're talking about tens of billions of dollars of money. So LIC's unclaimed money, which is what they still owe, which is not claimed, is 30% of their entire value. I mean, think about the amount of money that is left out there. People purchase insurance, pay premium diligently, but don't tell someone that they actually have insurance. So the person who is dealing with your absence, who is a dependent, doesn't even know you have insurance. They don't make a claim, and insurance companies don't go and tell them. So it is very important when you are choosing to take life insurance, it's for a very good purpose. The purpose being you need to have that available to your person who is your sibling or a spouse or a child, and you want to make sure that they know you have insurance and also what kind of insurance you have, so that in your absence they can go and get the money that you meant for them to have in your absence. And a lot of people I know have life insurance, they don't know the policy number, they don't know the document is. It's very, very sad when people don't know about this information and they don't get the money they deserve, even though you had made plans for that. So please make sure you keep your life insurance documents. Also make sure what kind of insurance you have: term insurance, whole life insurance, variable insurance, etc., all that. Health insurance information also very important. When you have to be taken to hospital when you're alive, then the first thing that most hospitals nowadays ask is your health insurance card. You make sure that you are clear on all the information about your health insurance. If you have any third party information, third party advisor information, or third party information you have, or any other detail about your company provided policies, you want to keep all that information so that people can use it to get the necessary service they need in the hospital without having to pay a lot of money. Home insurance, if you have any insurance covering your primary home against theft, fire, flood, etc., you want to keep that available so that people who are going to continue using the home will have access to all the information. Automobile insurance, similarly. Long-term disability, this is primarily for the US. If you had already paid for any long-term disability coverage or long-term disability coverage for your spouse and yourself, then you want to make sure that information is available so that people can make use of that. If you become disabled for whatever reason and you're not able to make the claim yourself, then the person who is taking care of you need to be able to have access to this information to make the claim to get the coverage that you deserve. And similarly, home rental insurance and Medicare and Medicaid. Medicare and Medicaid refers to people in the US only. You want to make sure that your Medicare and Medicaid information is available to start getting the benefits when you need the benefits from the US government. Physical assets. You want to make sure that whatever assets you own that you have in your name, detail here, so that you also have a good idea what should be done to the assets in your absence. So any automobiles that you might have own, cars or two-wheelers, any kind of precious metals you may have, gold, diamond, other stuff, other precious metals, silver items, expensive electronic items. You want to make sure you make a list of all those physical assets that you own so that you can decide what happens to those things in your absence. And also people know that you actually have those things, right? So any high value artwork, any musical instruments, books, etc. And more importantly, if you have any patents or logo or copyright, etc., all that, those information also is required so that those things can be maintained and any claim made can be dealt with appropriately. So you want to make sure all the physical assets are documented here and then mention what happens to physical assets in terms of what needs to be done with them, sell them, keep them, gift them, etc. All that. The physical asset list could also include your any cameras, smartwatches, expensive dresses, physical photos and photo albums. Very important. You over time you'll collect a lot of information, store them in various places in physical albums or in digital albums or in Google photo um, storage, etc. All that. You want to make sure that people who are going to be after leave who are going to live in this world also have access to those things. They can keep their memories, and all these things are collected over time. Any video, audio cassettes, stamp collections, foreign currency collections, basically anything that you think is valuable that you have right now, you want to make sure you make a list of all those things and ensure that somebody else knows that these are your physical assets, and they also know what to do with the physical assets in your absence. Employment information, you want to keep track of whatever employment information about you, your company name, years and service, etc. All that, past employments, previous employments, HR contact, any consulting or freelance work agreements that you might have, so that any payments that are due to you can be claimed when those things come for fruition. Further information on stock options, stock purchase plans, very important. A lot of people who are very senior level in companies at the C-suites generally get equity compensation in terms of stock options, stock purchase plans. Recently, I'll give you an example of one of friends who passed away. He's a very senior executive in a very large multinational firm. We didn't know that this person actually had stock options worth millions of dollars from a previous employer. We just stumbled upon them accidentally to find out this guy actually had stock options worth millions of dollars issued by his previous employer that are vested but not sold. So such things, you don't want to have that kind of assets of yours not being known to your relatives. So please make sure if you have any stock options, any stock purchase plans, any stock warrants or restricted stock units or anything that you have, you document all them so that people can go and get those things claimed in your absence when they have to go and do that. Similarly, any pension plans or 401k documents and any employer medical insurance information. So all this again are information that may not necessarily be aware of all the time, but with this list, what I try to do is to make sure you go through your own personal list, and if you have any of these things, take a copy of that information, keep the documentation pertaining to the information so that your loved ones can use it and make the necessary claims in your absence. Further, any leave travel allowance, the leave details, any expense accounts you might have, any company credit cards you might have, any payroll and direct deposit bank details you might have. Because if you close the bank account and any direct deposit is due, then the money cannot go anywhere. So you have to make sure that you know where the direct deposit is going, so that before you close the bank details, you make sure there is no money owed, etc. Any recent pay slips, any long-term incentive plans, particularly for senior executives in U.S. corporations, in terms of making optimal tax decisions, they give a long-term incentive plan. These are all tax-deferred plans where you get information, you get the money deferred or long-term basis. These are all agreements that you have with the company, and these agreements need to be available in your absence for people to go and claim that money as well. So make sure that if you have any long-term incentive plans, LTIPs, that are all documented and the documents are available as part of your end of life folder. Similarly, deferred tax compensation, any variable compensation plan as well. If you are a business owner and an entrepreneur, then you want to make sure that the companies or the business you're running, all the necessary documents, which a partnership agreement, make sure you have the LLP LLC documents, the article association MOUs, any tax identification number for the business that you have, TAN numbers, any MCA, Ministry of Company Affairs registration documents, GST documents, any share certificates that you own or you issued to somebody else. All this information you want to have. Trust me, at least in India, starting a company is not that difficult. Closing a company is virtually impossible. With all these documents, it's still difficult to close. Without the documents, imagine somebody trying to close the business you own in your absence without these documents. It's virtually impossible. So to make it easy for someone to handle your business when you're gone, at least help them by keeping all these documents in one place. With that, at least they have a fair chance of actually getting closure on the business. So these are all critical documents, and it's important for you to put all these documents in a folder and then keep them so that people can take care of it appropriately. The next list is a digital assets and password list. Interestingly, in the new digital world, all of us do a lot of transactions digitally, keep all the information digitally. While doing this, I did a little check on seeing how many passwords I actually have. I counted, I had more than 336 passwords. 336 username and passwords is what I had to remember. So we have this in various places. Some we keep in our phone, some we keep in our head, some we keep in notebooks, some we keep in our laptops, desktops, etc. All that. And imagine when you're not there, then all this information will be essential for you to open that. Most important, if you're going to do all this work and put all this nice end of life planning documents in your laptop, and if you do not document your laptop password, it's as good as not doing anything, because nowadays these laptops come with very high level of security. So if you put all the information, somebody is not given your laptop password, then it's not able to reset. So make sure all the passwords, specifically your home computer login ID and password, your mobile phone lock, and all your phone passwords and your computer passwords, etc., are all written down and kept somewhere safely, so that somebody who's going to try and come and get all the information can open your computer, be able to get access to all the information there. So particularly home computer ID and mobile phone lock. Okay. Similarly, all work and personal email accounts, social media accounts, net banking accounts. So all this password should be documented and kept in a safe place. Clearly, it's a very sensitive piece of information, so you want to make sure that it is not widely known to a lot of people. This whole end of life package information should be known to a few very trustworthy people. Usually, one person in your family, a spouse or a child, and then someone who's maybe a very close friend. So you need to have it more than one person, because the person who you given it to is not available for some reason, and somebody else need to be. So at least have it in two different people's hands who are very well known and credible, and make sure that they are aware of the location of all this end of life planning documents and all the information in that. So all the password information includes the credit card pins, ATM pins, debit card pins, all the mutual fund accounts, etc. All that. Crypto wallets and crypto exchange accounts, digital wallets, GPay, Paytm, PhonePe, storage accounts, online photo storage accounts, all your purchase apps accounts. Again, if you think through and see where all you have an account, as I told you, when I sat down and did that list, I had 336. I'm sure most of us have many hundreds of user ID and password. When you are able to, when you're alive and you're well, you can go and reset the password or do a forget password. If you're not there, nobody can do a forget password, because they don't access to your email as well. So make sure all these things are documented so that people can use them to access the necessary information in the necessary place. The next topic is on retirement accounts. Your provident fund details, your beneficiaries, your gratuity details, etc., annuities, any individual retirement accounts you might have for the people in the US, or any of your company sponsored retirement accounts, 401k, 403b, etc., all that. You want to make sure that all this information is documented. In the case of your retirement accounts, you also want to make sure your beneficiary details are completed. I know a lot of people have retirement accounts, but they haven't specified beneficiaries. That is, if you don't have a beneficiary, then it doesn't go to anyone automatically. So make sure that verify all your retirement accounts, your provident fund, your IRAs and 401ks, to make sure that you have actually specified a beneficiary. You have specified what each beneficiary gets. Another interesting thing is that even if you have a will or a trust written, the will or trust information will not be considered. Anything in the individual retirement account or in the 401k account, the beneficiary information in 401k and IRA supersedes what is there in the will. So just because written something in the will and have it empty in the IRA or 401k is not good. Make sure your 401k and IRA and your provident fund actually have explicitly stated beneficiary details. That's the one is going to be honored by the particular provider and not what is there in the will. Now, people mistake that whatever is in the will supersedes. That is not the case with retirement accounts. Okay, that's very important. So PF details, gratuity, annuities, IRAs, 401k, social security card, etc. All that. The next topic is on organ donations, etc. All that. I want to make a point about organ donation. Your life, when you leave this world, a lot of your organs might still be very valuable to somebody else. Organ donation is an amazing and absolutely honorable duty. People have various maybe have various emotions and various thoughts about this, but if you were to donate your organ, it's important for you to pre-specify this, particularly those who want to donate their physical body for medical research. If you want to do that, it has to be explicitly stated in a legal document. Your immediate relatives or your children or your wife will not be able to make decisions on your behalf. They should not be making decisions on your behalf. There are laws around this. There is an organ donation law that is available in US, India. So it's very important for you to make sure that if you want to do anything with your organs, it's all explicitly stated in the right documents, so that in your absence, those things can be donated for whatever purposes they're meant. Eye donation, liver donation, kidney donation, all of them are important. I can tell you personally, when my mom and dad passed away, I had asked them before they're alive that is it okay for us to donate their organs, and both had agreed. So I donated my mom and dad's eyes when they passed away, and I got a letter from this donation company 6 months later saying that my mom's eyes, both of them were used to provide vision to someone who didn't have vision. So it is amazing. I want to say that very important for us to consider organ donation, because our organs are very valuable assets that can be helpful to someone in your absence. So, but make sure that if you are intending to do that, you document these desires in a proper form, so that the person who is going to be dealing with it in your absence will know that you want to donate, and also know that you have given specific instructions and approvals to donate them as well. Okay. Estate planning is the last topic. Estate planning relates to any will and trust that you want to have. In the US, you also have what is called advanced healthcare directive. These are stuff that you want to say how you want to be treated in case you have any debilitating conditions. For example, there is something called DNR in the US, do not resuscitate. If you give that explicit condition, then your medical professional will not be willing to resuscitate you, because you had said that you don't want to be resuscitated. So you want to make sure that if anything that you want to be done or not done for you, it's important to put them in proper documents and make sure it's in the right places. So the advanced healthcare directives is something that you want to create to express your clear wishes and decisions about what to do in terms of medical treatment for yourself when you're not able to make decisions. Similarly, you have living trust where you can put for things to do with your assets. Designation of guardians. Make sure that you have a designated guardian for all the people you are taking care of, your minor children, your living parents, your dependents, and your pets. It's important to document all this so that people don't have to worry about. Let's say you don't say anything about who's going to take care of your children when a children, then the decision has to be made by someone, and different people might have different opinions about the decision. So it's important for you to clear that by putting all this stuff in a document, so that in case you are not there, then the person who's going to handle your absence can know what to do in terms of guardianship for all these different kinds of people. Similarly, you want to make sure you create the financial power of attorney and the medical power of attorney. Interestingly, these two things are not the same. The person who has the financial power of attorney can only make financial decisions on your behalf and sign documents on your behalf. They cannot make decisions on a medical basis unless that person is also designated as a medical POA. So these two are very different power of attorneys, and it's important. I think it's very required and very important for us to designate one person as a financial POA and one person as a medical POA. It is highly advised to not have the same person have both, because you don't want the same person making decisions for you medically and financially. So the most ideal advice is to have two different people, to have these two different kind of power of attorney, so that there is no conflict there. The person making the financial decision is not also a person making the medical decision. So make sure you have a POA created for financial purposes and one for medical purposes, and that information is available as well. Okay, that's all I had in the presentation, folks. It's 8:25. I have another 10 more minutes for any questions that you might have. If you have questions that you have after the presentation, you're welcome to ask them. I'll have a presentation with all my contact information. You can obviously write emails to me or send messages to me. I'll be happy to answer them. If you have any questions right now, I'm happy to answer. Otherwise, we'll request you to put the questions in an email. Over to you, Arun.
Yeah. Friends, you can post your questions verbally, or you can use the chat box window provided. Meanwhile, I would like to, I'm really amazed at the things we have to face, even when we leave the world, or rather we subject our close ones to face. In such a, we have become so complex that it's mind-boggling to see that, you have so much to close out, as loose ends. And I think it'll be a tough job for the surviving person. No,
Exactly.
first of all, the emotional closure. is something I think this is equally onerous, I would say, because the complexities involved, and especially the items you touched upon are all, some of them are eye openers, I would say.
Mm, mm,
We take things for granted in
mm,
terms of minuscule treatment, and
mm,
then the money is there and it is not there.
mm,
And the income tax liability
mm,
still continues
mm,
even after the assessment is over.
mm,
And then, in case they raise up some issue,
mm.
that is actually liable. I mean, the legal heirs are also liable through the
Yeah,
estate acquired
yeah.
from the assessee. So I think people seldom remember that,
Mm,
because they will deal with the asset thinking
mm.
that, there are no consequences, but suddenly something comes up. I would like to request you to share any physical document you may have with you to, show us on display. How do you make this? I think this will be
No,
uh,
I think you'll be surprised because what I had done in my case is that I have tried to locate all the documents, and it took me a while after I started doing it for myself. See, what I did is that when I was trying to help all these different people deal with the loss of their person, we had to actually sit with them and go and meet various individuals in the banks, insurance companies, etc., all that. So what I compiled here is things that I had to do to help people who are going through this. That's how I got the comprehensive list of all that. I am pretty sure the list I have here is probably not the end all be all. There are things that probably I haven't faced that somebody might be there, but at least this will give you some sort of a starting point where you have hopefully covers about 80-90% of what everyone needs to have. There might be some very specific things that you might have in your particular situation, but this at least gives you a framework so you can start collecting. Yes, it is a lot of documents. As I said, that I have both a digital copy and a physical copy. It is important to have them, and so that when you
And how long did it take for you to, commence this exercise and complete it, or have some semblance of control over all the aspects of this?
to,
I,
to be perfectly honest, I don't think I have done everything yet. Actually, I don't think I have.
okay,
I don't think I have
I can
100% of all mine
understand
yet.
that. Yeah, I can.
I have, I think majority of the ones I have already covered and kept it, but I haven't done 100% of all of them because sometimes it takes a while for us to know where it is. Like for
Yeah.
example, there are things that the property that I own, it took me a while to find out where that document was actually, and I thought that document was there in my bank locker. It wasn't there; it was somewhere else actually.
True.
Similarly, bank accounts. There are some bank accounts that I had opened way back, which I hadn't operated for a long time. I had to find them, track them, and close them because I don't
Oh,
want them to be around. But basically, I'm a little bit of a what I would call a very diligent person. So I have kept track of most things. Now, you believe it or not, now I actually keep track of all my expenses for the last 37 years by
oh my
month.
God.
By
Oh my
month,
God.
two things come out of that. One is I know what I'm spending. Second thing, more importantly, I actually calculate the true customer inflation. uh,
Oh,
Customer inflation, because what I'm spending, I know if I look at it, the numbers that are produced by the government or the bank is pure rubbish. I tell you, pure rubbish. The actual inflation, if you look at in India, for example, at least for the last 20 years, I have detailed accounts, and my consumption and goods and services has changed. But if I look at the basic basket of goods and services that are using every month, the real inflation, the real actual inflation for us is more than 7.5% in this country,
oh,
right? They put 5%, 3%, all that. But if I look
yeah,
at what I'm consuming, because it's all real information, I know exactly what I spend every month on various baskets of goods and
right.
services. So I keep track of that. So I maintain quite a good list of all my investments, of all my stuff. But what I didn't have is some of this real estate documents or some of this stock option document, because stock options I had in companies, I kept them with the company. I kept them with the companies who was maintaining the financial records of the company. I made it a point to go back and get all the documents so that at least someone else knows. I'm also an angel investor. I invested in more than 27 companies, startups.
Oh God.
Now, and some of times all these share agreements you have, you just keep a soft copy somewhere, or sometimes it is still sitting with the company itself, etc. All that. So those kind of things took me a while to go back and call them, get them. So I think I am probably 90% through with all my information I need to collect. It is sizable information. Yes, I don't disagree with that. But as long as you keep a digital copy and a physical copy, at least a digital copy, then you have, and the people who are going to take care of it at least knows. Now, what I did in my case, I make sure my wife and my children knew the location of the document,
Okay.
right? So at least they know where it is. They may not actually have gone through it and understood everything, but I said at least you know where it is.
Yeah,
Now you can at least go access them and then take help from somebody else to do something with them,
true.
right? You may not actually know how to deal with them. At least somebody will, if you're able to provide this to someone you trust, they can at least help you to get to the right people, to the right information, and you don't have to go and recreate documents that you don't have. So to that extent, I think I have covered. And it took me more than 3 months to collect a lot of the
Okay.
documents. So it is
Okay.
important to start now and start.
Okay.
It's not a fun exercise. It is not exciting, but it's very important. But it is not very difficult to do it if you put your mind to it. I think a couple of months, 3 months, you should be able to get a full list of all that. Once
Yeah.
you have that, the job doesn't end there. You also need to make sure it keeps updated, because if you're going to do any further transactions, any further thing, you want to make sure that you update this folder with all those information
Yeah.
also, and keep it around. I would suggest that maybe you should update it at least once in 6 months,
Okay. Okay.
so that you can keep it current, so that people will know what is going on there.
I have an additional suggestion for
Yeah,
us novices who are going to get their feet wet. First hand, my suggestion to the friends who are watching this and who are present today and who may watch later, who are registered, is that they can share this entire video presentation to their close family members. First,
yeah,
make them aware that these aspects are there,
correct.
for them to be
Agree.
concerned about. And then
Agree.
they get an idea, oh, this is here and this is what we, you get a hang overview of the additional things that need to be considered when when a close person leaves,
Great.
So I think that I would put it across to all our participants, and then ensure that they share it with their close ones, and then go forward, building up in this documentation at whatever stage of life they are in. Because
Yeah,
nothing is certain. The only thing certain is uncertainty
yeah,
and death. Death is
yeah,
certain, so we don't
yeah,
know when. So,
yeah,
and it makes a lot of sense. Especially in today's complex world where everything is depending on the password.
yeah.
I just can't put across questions to you honestly, because it's so huge, and then there are so many elements you are addressed very rapidly. I think each of them will require a specific examination, like your medical POA or your financial POA, or your matching of your 401k beneficiaries as well as your will. These are all minor aspects. I think people will discover as so. I really appreciate your time, and then your interest to share your insights of what you have gone through to all of our members. I'm sure that all of us will be benefited by taking a leaf out of your real life experiment and then implementing it in their own lives in whatever variations they feel like. I think it is fantastic to hear this element which is not addressed. As busy professionals, we tend to ignore, we tend to take things for granted about our family, immediate family members, about our personal lives. And I think this is very vital. That's one of the reasons I had invited Mr. Vish. Immediately on citing this topic, I felt that it is very important for us to
Yeah,
gain some
yeah,
insights. Thank you, Vish. I think people have a lot of questions in their mind. I'm sure they would reach out. I would request you to share any sample document which you have gone through, eliminating all the what do you call the personal details, and then that will give a gist of idea as to
sure,
this is what is going to be. There are 13 chapters we're
sure,
going to deal with.
sure.
Uh, and it
Now,
is
happy.
amazing. I really appreciate your painstaking efforts, as well as I need to comment on your qualification, which you obtained after 35 years of your life in corporate life. You entered a program and then gained a master's in India on the psychological counseling. I really commend that.
Yeah,
I think I mentioned it, but I didn't mention that you had done it just about a year back. after so
Yeah.
many. So we have
Specifically
a
on
long
that,
time.
what I did is I not only I did the counseling and psychotherapy, I also specialized in counseling of C-level people. Now, I
Okay.
was a CEO for a long time. When you're in a top position in a company, a CFO, CEO, CTO, etc., or a
Okay.
startup founder,
Okay.
the kind of stresses and pressures those people go through is very different. Because at the very top, trust me, it's very lonely. You don't have very many people to go and talk to, because if you're a CEO of a
I agree.
company, you are the final point of decision making.
Right.
So people look up to you for
Yeah.
solutions, and that doesn't mean you are not without any challenges yourself. So I specialize in counseling people at the C level because I was
Wish we will have you for another session on counseling the CFOs,
yeah,
especially on the stress part of it. I would
yeah,
look forward to. We will work on that program slightly later.
yeah.
And I believe that you had mentioned that you have another meeting to attend to, so
Yeah,
I don't want to hold you up. And
no
thanks for
issues.
your time
I will.
immensely.
What I'll do is I'll send you a copy of this presentation so you can share it with all that
Yeah.
registered people. They can
Great.
ask it, and
Great.
at the end of the presentation, at the very end, I have my contact information,
Sure.
so people can write emails or send messages. I'll be happy to answer them. And if somebody wants to have a more detailed discussion about the specific topics, I'm happy to do that also. They can set up a time, and then, because it has happened in the past sessions, people will say, I want to specifically discuss a
Yeah.
few things that applies to me.
Very true.
I'll be able to answer most questions, but in particular topics, then I'll probably refer them to a professional person like a estate planner or insurance agent. But for the majority of the questions, because I went through this exercise helping a few other people, we got awareness into who should be approached for what and what kind of issues need to be solved, etc. All that. So you can say that. So I will send you a copy of the presentation along with my
Yeah.
contact
Please.
information.
Please.
Circulate them, and if there is any feedback or any questions from the team, by all means you can write to me, and I'll do my best to answer them as quickly as possible.
Yeah.